Welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the program, and it is show number 120, and happy to be with you today. It's Thursday morning. Normally, we're not broadcasting in the morning, but with everything that's happening, we're able to make some changes, and I was also able to connect with today's guest, Coach Joe Mihalich from Hofstra University, head men's basketball coach. I know Joe a long time, and a lot of hard games, a lot of hard battles. But through it all, I know Joe is a class act and a great coach and a great mentor for many young people. And they won their tournament this year. Hofstra won their tournament. And I wanted to talk to Joe about what that was like for him, what that was like for his school community, and certainly his players to have such a great celebration of their work and then have it pulled away. So we're going to meet Joe here in a minute. Excited to be a member of the Education Podcast Network. This podcast is going there, as well as Voice Ed Radio Canada, and we will soon be on iTunes. So looking forward to that and welcoming in that audience. I also want to thank today's sponsor of the show, the Coaching and Leadership Journal. This is the March episode. I'm going to send a copy to Joe here after the show is over. But this is from my friend Dan Spanauer. You can find this at the Leadership Publishing team. Dan does a great job. This is the March version. And again, there are 8 to 10 pages of just inspiration. We need inspiration during this time. And I got this mailed to my school. Dan offered, if you are a subscriber, you can get the subscription brought back to your house. Just email him and change that address. But even here, right, there's information about what you can do in the spring to help you boost forward. We lost Kobe Bryant last month. Here's a great article about Kobe Bryant. We also lost Morgan Wooten. Joe knows Morgan and what he did for the game. There's an article here about Morgan Wooten. So a ton of inspiration. Dan was nice enough. There's a code Murata20 if you'd like that discount. And again, that's at the leadershippublishingteam.com. So let's get started. This is show number 120. I am on Twitter at Andrew Murata21, and we can see the Twitter handles for the Hofstra men's basketball team below as well. But the topic today, to work so hard for a goal and get right there and then have it pulled from you. And that's what happened to the men's basketball team at Hofstra. That's what happened to a lot of teams, and that's what happened to a lot of people with all kinds of cancellations and closures due to this virus. I talked too long. Let's bring in Joe here. We had some sound difficulties, but we're able to get him on. And there he is, Coach Joe Mihalich from Hofstra University. Joe, welcome to Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
Andrew, glad to be with you. Thanks for having me on. I promise not to question any calls you made, any of the games you officiated. So.
You only did that every once in a while, but that was all in the past and all good.
I'll tell you what, you got most of them right. We miss you, man. We wish you were still doing it. I'm not saying that because we're on the show. Guys like you, we need more guys like you. You were good at it. You really were good at it. Well,
I appreciate that, Joe, and that means a lot. And certainly we're going to chat a little bit about that transition for me later. But for you and your program right now, Joe, tell me what that roller coaster of emotions was like for you to have won the Colonial tournament and then get the news that all of this was being canceled. What was that like for you?
Yeah, Andrew, it was, we broke it down. It was probably 43 hours of all kinds of emotions. So at 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, we, as you said, we punched our ticket. We won the championship. We climbed up the ladder with the scissors. We cut down the net. The guys were having their hats on backwards. They were, dancing on the floor. It was euphoria. It was just, everything, as you said, everything you worked for, everything you dreamed about. The dream came true, and it was a great bunch of guys. I mean, it was a hard earned, every win was hard earned. And of course, that tournament was that way. So at 9 o'clock, euphoria, and then just to take you through it, almost step by step. You just started to get, with each thing that happened, you started to get a little queasy feeling in your stomach. So, the next morning we're talking to the guys, saying, hey, listen now, there's talk of no fans being able to come to the games. So we might be playing Villanova in Albany, in the first round of the NCAA tournament, but there won't be any fans there. So it's going to be a little weird, but hey, it's still the NCAA tournament, blah, blah, blah. And then I think chronologically, Gobert from the Utah Jazz tested positive. And then shortly thereafter, Adam Silva postpones the NBA season. And we're just starting to get queasier and queasier, and their stomach's starting to turn. You're like, wait a minute, what's happening? And then the Power 5 conferences all canceled their tournaments, and like I said, in less than 43 hours, it went from euphoria to just towards the end of it, just hoping it would be postponed, not canceled. Just hoping, like, okay, we're not playing next week. We almost kind of figured that out. We're not going to be playing, but hopefully they're going to postpone it somehow. We can play it in a month, 2 months, whatever it might be. And then we got the news at about 4:15 on that Thursday. Like I said, less than 48 hours later, that the tournament was canceled, and we were gutted. I mean, we were devastated because, as I already said, the dream came true. We did it. We were champions. We earned our right into the NCAA tournament, and that dream was kind of taken away from us. So, the message to our players was, life isn't fair. Life, it just isn't. Life isn't fair. A guy I played with in college was the captain of the 1980 Olympics team. They canceled the Olympics. He didn't get to do that. We have to deal with it. And so there is no tournament. Something that we deserved, we didn't get. But at the same time, there's a pandemic out there. There's a very, very serious, real-world, real-life problem. And we have to be socially responsible to, do our part to not let this get worse than it already is. So we're not the only ones not doing it. There's other teams not doing this, and we're responsible for it. We got to do that. And then the last message was, hey, the last game you played. I feel, I could almost cry when I talk about our seniors. I feel most hurt for them because their college career is over, not just the season. And it could have ended, watching Selection Sunday show and finding out you were going to play. As I said, they were going to have us play Villanova. That's what the committee does.
Philly connection, absolutely.
Yeah, they were going to do that. Jay Wright, they're going to have Jay Wright play against his old team, but they didn't get to do all those things they deserved to do. But the last thing they did as a college basketball player was win a championship. And as I already said, cut the nets down and celebrate with their teammates and walk off the floor with the net hanging around their neck. So, that's where we're at. It's everybody's dealing with this in different ways, highs and lows. It's changed some lives, and we're just we're just a microcosm of our whole society.
Yeah. And it was a great picture of you celebrating with the team, with them pouring the, I don't know what it was, champagne or soda or whatever, but that was a great shot of you. And, certainly being an official, watching how hard those games are, I know how hard you guys worked. Joe, what would you want to see for those seniors? I've heard some stuff about possibly letting them come back for a fifth year of eligibility. What would you like to see for them?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would love to see those seniors come back. I don't know if the powers that be, the NCAA people and the higher ups, at the end of the day, do they think that a kid should play an entire fifth year? I just don't know how it would work. I would love it. I can't love DeJour Bowie or Elijah Pemberton any more than I love them. But they did play 34 games. They did play an entire season. They did win a championship. Did they get, at the end of it, did they get, kind of the short end of the stick because they did win the championship? Yeah. But I just don't know. I don't know if it's growing legs. I think the spring sports, I think those kids, the baseball teams and the lacrosse teams, I think those seniors will get another year. I think, but there's going to be some hoops they got to jump through to get that done too.
Yeah. Joe, tell me about your leadership through this time. Right now, would be the off season for you, right? I've only ever seen you in action. I've seen you at some scrimmages and stuff, and here's your real self. Tell me about your leadership with your program right now. What's your communication with your players, and how is this rolling into your recruiting time?
Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's uncharted territory. We have to do things that we're not used to doing. It's far from normal. you know, a lot of this kind of stuff. You know, if you're going to talk to a recruit, you're FaceTiming them or Zooming or whatever, you know, Facebook, whatever it might be. You know, as you talk about leadership, and I knew we were going to talk a little bit about leadership. I hope you don't mind me sharing the story, but because it's a topic that you know, that fascinates me, and I think it's an incredibly important, you know, aspect of whatever we do in life. You as a leader, as an educator, as an administrator, you as a leader, you know. So I always like to tell this story because I think it's one that stuck with me, and I like to share. So I was still the coach at Niagara, and most of the people watching this don't know Frank Layden. But Frank Layden was a long time ago head coach at Niagara. He became somebody that he was like a mentor, just a fabulous, fabulous guy. And he would come back every spring. He actually would go to Cooperstown and meet his old buddies from Niagara, and we'd all go over there and they'd golf and have a couple of adult beverages and tell stories. And you know, one day I was there with him, and he went on to become the head coach of the Utah Jazz, and then the president and general manager of the Utah Jazz. I mean, he was the one responsible for getting Karl Malone and John Stockton together. So this one spring, I went over and I was with Frank Layden, and the Utah Jazz had just changed coaches. So Jerry Sloan was retiring, and they hired the new coach. And so I said to Coach Layden, I said, hey, how will he be? And Frank Layden said something that will forever, it's obvious it stuck to me, that he'll forever stick with me. He said, you know, he's a great guy. Everybody loves him. He was a great player. Obviously, I'm not using his name. He was a great player. Fans loved him. Teammates loved him. Really, really good guy. He said, what I'm worried about is how well he's going to communicate. How well he communicates, how well he interacts with people, how well he said, because, you know, when you can really communicate with people, then you can motivate them. And when you motivate people, then you're a leader. And in about 3 sentences right there, you know, it's clear, I love this, I love the story, but in about 3 sentences right there, you got a pretty good definition for leadership. And there's 1,000 of them. But like we had 2 leaders this year, DeJour Bowie, Elijah Pemberton, they were off the charts as far as leadership goes. But I always remember that when you can communicate with people, then you motivate. And when you can motivate people, then that makes you a good leader. So that's what we got to do as coaches, is what we have to do as teachers. But it all starts with communicating. And we're in a time right now when communication is going to be different. I can't get in a plane or get in a car and drive and put my face in front of a recruit and his parents. Got to do it like this. Got to do it over the phone. Got to text. And they can't come here either when it comes to recruiting. Same with our guys. Like, first and foremost right now, we got to make sure our guys are okay academically. I mean, they're taking all their classes online. I mean, that's again, it's not easy. It's not easy. Everybody thinks that's great. I don't know if it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if it depends on the class, depends on the teacher. I don't know if it's great. Sounds great. Oh, I don't have to go to class. I don't know. You know, I mean, you got to have a computer, you got to have an iPad, you got to have the internet, you got to have a household that where if you have one computer, the mom and dad aren't working from home too, and they need a computer. So a lot of challenges with that too. Yeah. So anyway, I'm rambling, but I don't even know if I answered your question.
You did, and that's a great story because it was about communication and stories. You know, sell and facts tell. So that was a great story, Joe. And we have a number of people watching. My mom was always a fan of yours. She's watching, but also a number of former officials and high school coaches. So if you are watching live and you have a question for us, please pop it up there and we'll get it to Joe. Joe, another thing about leadership to me is being organized with your time, with your schedule, with your wellness. You know, tell me about in season, Joe, about your practice schedule and you making time that works for you and works for your team. What was like your routine during the season?
As far as putting a practice schedule together?
Sure, and getting them ready and game day and 24 hours before game day, 48 hours. What was your kind of big picture scheduling like?
Well, if you want to first talk about planning practice, it's different for everybody. You know, some head coaches just scribble all down on their desk, make a copy of it, and then drop it on the assistant coach's desk and say, okay, here's what we're doing today. Any questions? But I've never done that as a head coach. You know, I'm a self-proclaimed expert at being an assistant because I was an assistant for so long. but I always want input. But I have an incredible staff. You know, Mike Farley, Speedy Claxton, Colin Curtin, they're all head coaches. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
They're off the charts. They are off the charts good. They demand, you know, great things from themselves, and by demanding great things from themselves, it has an effect on each other. And we got a bunch of guys that are always trying to be as good as they can be. So, but they're good. So I've never planned to practice in 22 years as a head coach by myself. I mean, it's always been with the staff. We carve out. Sometimes it takes an hour. Sometimes it takes 2 hours. Depends on how much tape we might watch of, you know, the opponent we're about to play or something we'd like to try. So, but I've always planned to practice with my staff, and minute for minute, I get input on what we're going to do, whether it's a shooting drill or a breakdown of our half-court offense or some scheme we might try defensively. But everything we do as a staff. We break it all down. I mean, if I could show you a practice schedule right now, you would see, you know, 305 stretch and warm up, you know, 310 to 320. And listen, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're not curing cancer. We're just, everybody's doing this. But that's what we do. That's what we do.
Minute by minute. So very organized in your time. And you go in 2 hours? How long are you practices? 2 hours?
You know, it fluctuates. You know, it depends on the day, depends on the situation. You know, by the end of the year, you know, you're not really, you know, we were last in the country, Andrew, in bench minutes. So I had 5 guys that rarely came out of the game. And a lot of people said, you know, it's going to be the end of you. It'll be your Achilles heel. Well, we won 3 games in 3 nights and you know, worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
So by the end of the year, you know, you're not practicing as long. You're not going up and down the court as much. You know, by the end of the year, you know, I couldn't let DeJour Bowie and Elijah Pemberton sprain an ankle in practice, right?
Yeah.
So by the end of the year, we always did a lot of shooting drills. We carved out some time in each practice for fundamentals and individual instruction, individual improvement, player development. We'd always do that at the beginning of practice. But, you know, a lot of shooting, and beginning of the year, you're going live a lot. You're going up and down the floor a lot. You're you know, trying to get yourself in shape. But, you know, by the end of the year, it's a lot of breakdowns and a lot of walkthroughs.
Joe, in high school, as a high school administrator, you know, we're judged by graduation rates, test scores, you know, kids getting into college, those kinds of things that people look at those numbers. You know, you're pretty much judged by one big number or 2 big numbers, the wins and losses, but also the types of kids in there. Tell me about your, you know, leadership, your conversations with your players about the importance of the wins, right? Because, again, officiating so many of your games and those tight games, all of those Colonial games are tight. You get down to those last 5, 6 minutes, 4 minutes, you know, everybody got very intense because those wins and losses were coming to the line there. Tell me about your conversations about learning how to get those wins for your team.
A lot of things pop into my head here, Andrew. I mean, you know, when you get towards the end of the game, it really is about preparation. And more importantly, it's about your players feeling like and knowing like and being confident in the fact that they're prepared. You know, we do time and score situations a lot, you know, where we put time on the clock and we practice the end of the game stuff a lot, whether it's a short segment, you know, 3 seconds to go, down 1, based on out of bounds, or, you know, 2.5 minutes to go, down 4, you know, play it out from there. So we do a lot of that stuff. But I think, you know, our guys just need to know that we have practice. You got to remind them, wait, listen, fellas, we've been here before. We've practiced this. We did this 2 weeks ago when we played, you know, College of Charleston down in Charleston. We've been here. Here's what we did. This is what we did good. This is what we did bad. And it's just a lot of preparation. It's you know, before the game, it's watching tape the day before. It's talking it through. It's, you know, it's about being ready. And more importantly, as I said already, knowing that you're ready, having that confidence. Like, yeah, you're right, coach. We did do this. Okay, we got it.
And it's interesting to hear you say that, you know, having watched you coach at Niagara, and it was like a ballet. Everyone was moving. You were like a Jedi on the sideline. And then in your first year or 2 at Hofstra, I think you dented your head a few times from banging it on the table because they weren't ready to do the things, or they weren't as prepared because you didn't have as much time with them. So I literally saw that in the transition. But you built that over this time at Hofstra and got them to a championship level team. So kudos to you and your team there. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Andrew. It's I guess at our level now, unfortunately, the transfer stuff is making it harder and harder. But
sure.
You know, it's all kind of makes sense. If you're the coach at Duke in Kentucky, maybe you have one and done kids, right? But they're so good, they're so talented, they're pros that they don't need to be. I mean, this doesn't sound right. They don't need to be coached as much because those guys coach their brains out too. But with our guys, it's a progression. You know, as a freshman, you did this. As a sophomore, you did a little bit more. Juniors, and then by the time you're a senior, you understand it. So,
Joe, you made a big transition in your life. You were at Niagara 15 years. You carved a home out there. You went to the NCAA tournament a couple times. You had some star players, and you were the big fish in a small pond up there. You know, really carved out a championship level program and just great respected in your field. Tell me about that transition to Hofstra. What made you leave? How did you say this might be something I want to do? Tell me about that transition.
Yeah, Andrew. I love Niagara. It's a great place. Great people up there. The Vincentians are as good a bunch of guys as you'd ever want to meet in your life. We were really happy there. I mean, if I'd have died up there, I'd have died a happy man. But I always said, there were opportunities to leave, but I always said it's going to take something pretty special for me to leave. And Hofstra is a special place. It's a really special place. As much as I loved it there, I love it just as much here and couldn't be prouder and more happy. And, as I say all the time, I'm living the dream. I guess it came down to, I guess it got a little personal. My sons had grown and left. And so I have three sons. In fact, they all coach. Joey is an assistant coach at the University of Pennsylvania. And we'll get Stevie Dunny on this show. He'll be way better than me. My son Matt is a head coach at a prep school in Connecticut, Avon Old Farms. And my son Tony is an assistant track coach at George Mason University. So they, unfortunately, they all follow in my footsteps to become coaches instead of going out and becoming doctors and lawyers and stuff. But, there came a time when my wife Mary, and I looked at you, we never see the kids. They're just kind of too far. And I can't emphasize enough how much I loved it up there in Niagara, but it's not, and this isn't a joke, but it's really not on the way to anything. My son Joey, when we did move, Mary said to the guys, hey fellas, get up here and get your, what out of here so I don't have to clean it out. And when Joey came up, he said, you realize that I haven't been here in 13 months. Now, we saw him. We saw him in the summer. We saw him vacation. Came down here. He says, you realize I haven't been up here in 13 months. And so we just wanted to be closer to our family. This is really what it came down to. It was a chance to be close. It was a chance to work in a fabulous place. Hofstra is a world-class institution. Phenomenal school academically. Great basketball program. I'm pinching myself every day to be here. But as much as that, it was just being close to the family.
Yeah, and you got close to New York City. There was things happening. You were close to Canada up there. You're right there. Going up there, it was a long way. But being there 15 years, that had to be a hard decision because such a change in your routine.
Oh, it was really hard, but it's such a great place to come to. It's such an exciting place, and we love it. My wife. Not these days, but Mary's on the train all the time, going to the city and walking around, and just it's an awesome place, really is.
And you walked into a difficult situation, Joe. There was some turmoil. That was a rough season for Coach Casara, who was there before you, and you walked into a rough situation. Tell me about your mindset into. Again, because school leaders, sometimes we go into a different situation too at a different school, right? There was turmoil, there was problems. How did you kind of carve out and make changes to get away from some of that turmoil that was there?
Well, I'm lucky in the sense that for a couple reasons. But our president, Stuart Rabinowitz, who's just an incredible president. He is what he's done at this place is just. We would need another hour on your podcast to go through it. At the time, the AD was Jeff Hathaway, and when they hired me, they said, hey, listen, we want to win championships, we want to win games, but we want to do it the right way. You know, we want to do it with good people. And if they hadn't said that, I probably would have never left where I was, because, you know, I don't believe that you can win without good people. And so that was the first thing, to go out and get people that, you know, to build this culture. And some people don't like that word, but I think it's something you can't avoid. You have a culture, whether you want to talk about it or not. There's a culture in every program. Mm-hmm. And with us, it starts with the kids. It starts with the players and who they are and what they're all about. And, you know, people always say, what do you look for when you go out there to recruit? What are you looking for? And I think they think you're going to say, oh, we got to get a 7-footer. And we got to get a guy that never misses an open shot. And we got to get somebody that dunks every time he drives down the lane. But really, for me, I look for 2 sets of 3. I always say this, 2 sets of 3. Good person, good player, good student. It starts with that. And, you know, the good student part, I don't want to mislead anybody. That doesn't mean we have guys that just get A's. But we have every single guy respects school. Every single guy goes to class, meets with his tutors, does his work, and does their best. And that's all we ask them. Some guys are going to graduate with a 2.3, and some are going to graduate with 3.3. As long as they're doing their best and they respect school. So when I say good student, that's what that means. Good players, obvious. I mean, we got to get good players. I mean, if we're not getting guys that can shoot, dribble, and pass, and that's, you know, and then good person. If they're averaging 40 points a game and they have a 3.9 GPA, but they're gonna, you know, break the law and do things they shouldn't do and be disrespectful, not be good people, then we don't want them around. Yeah. So it's those 3, and then the other 3 is more basketball stuff, you know, and it's intangible things, but love the game. Like, really love the game. Like not, you know, if you're not playing, you wish you were, or you're talking about playing, or you're talking about some dunk you saw on ESPN last night, but really love the game. Hate to lose. Everybody loves to win. But hate to lose. Like, if you're playing a one-on-one game with your teammate and he beats you, you want to play again because you don't like the fact that he beat you. You know, hate to lose. And then work hard. You know, that's the third thing. You got to work hard. We always tell the kids, you are who you are when nobody's looking. And you go in that gym anytime you want. You don't need a coach to take you in there. So if you're going to get in there and work on your own, then that means you're a self-motivator and you're a hard worker. So, you know, you put those 6 things together, and we got a locker room full of guys like that, and that's why we've won a lot of games.
Yeah, and certainly this season was the icing on the cake for you, rebuilding that program, and you were so close so many other times. But, Joe, you definitely modeled those second 3. I mean, you went to LaSalle and played there, so you did those first 3 as a player. But the love of the game and the hate to lose, you could see it in your actions. And certainly as an official, I knew that as well, working with you on the sidelines. Tell me about, because I had so many officials say, Andrew, you got to ask him this. Andrew, I have a number watching live here. Tell me about your interactions with officials, because you definitely had some great one-liners with me. But I also saw you really frustrated at times in those wins and losses. Through it all, I knew you were a good person and a good guy. But tell me about your sideline interactions.
Well, hey, listen, I got to say this. I mean this. You know, I have incredible respect for – I don't know if I've ever had an official – and I'm lucky because I worked in the MAC and then worked in the Colonial. Yeah. But never had an official who wasn't genuinely a good person, worked their brains out, were fair. You know, that's all great guys. I mean, really, did they make every call right? Well, you know, we didn't make every shot either. So, but great guys. I mean, start with yourself. You were always fair. I mean, listen, I can talk about you, and it would be like talking about a bunch of guys. You know, you were fair both ways. You worked hard. You genuinely wanted to get it right. And I got to tell you this: it's the hardest thing in the world. I don't know how you guys did it. I mean that. I'm not blowing sunshine your way when I don't need to. It's hard. I know it. I know it's hard. I couldn't do it. I have to do it in practice every day. I think I'm like I got about a 20% correction rate when I'm doing it. Yeah. I'm right like 20% of the time. Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard, and I listen. When you do get frustrated, you realize after the game you're probably frustrated because for the wrong reasons, not the right reasons, and there's nobody else to take it out on. So.
Well, and I remember at Niagara we had a tough play, and it was a hard call, and it didn't go your way, and you weren't happy, and I got this 6-hour drive home, and I'm wondering. I finally saw it on tape, and I saw I had it right. And sure enough, the next time I went up there, you said, Andrew, I need you to know that I know that you got that play right. So you did say that to me before the game, and I remember that. And it said a lot about your character, and all in all, we're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to do the right thing for your players, and that's what makes the game so special. So, Joe, how about you personally? What are you doing yourself now with this time? You're home, you got your Hofstra gear on, you're in your office, you got your coffee. What are you doing with this time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to stay productive. I mean, just watching more. I watch more tape than ever before. I thought I watched a lot of tape before. Now it's because the only way to watch recruits and watch all these. Well, first of all, you get all these kids transferring, so you can go into they're putting their names in the portal. So you jump on Synergy and you see a name and you start watching them play. So you can watch Synergy. You can watch. Trying to stay in touch with the team. The staff. I'm going to do something at 11 o'clock here with the staff. But it's hard. It's hard. I mean, it's more phone calls with your recruits. It's less interaction, but you can't work your guys out too. I mean, our guys really needed a break. I mean, it was a long season, and then they had spring break. For once, they actually got they would much rather be practicing, getting ready for an NCAA tournament game, but
sure.
They got a break. This week was the first real week that we should have been in classes, and so it's different, but it's just horrible not to be able to go in the gym. And my assistants would always have these guys in the gym shooting jumpers, working on their ball screen moves, and all that stuff. And it's just great. See the guys
in that way. Well, let's get you to your meeting. Let's get on with it, Joe. A favorite of the program is the rapid fire questions. You didn't have a chance to look at these, so you don't know what's coming, but these are rapid fire answers, Joe. Give me, it's like a bang bang play in basketball. Give me your first thing that pops in your head, okay?
Oh boy.
Here we go. Last book you read.
The last book I read. I got 2 books I'm working on. I read at night just to try to help me unwind a little bit. I got a Lee Child, Jack Reacher book going. Just like that stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm also paging through John Feinstein's book that he just put out. So I read a little bit of those 2 things, and then I go from there. But I like I need a page turner, something that's probably not basketball. So it's a John Grisham, it's Harlan Coben, it's John Sanford, it's Lee Childs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Feinstein does a lot of Colonial games. I know that. He's great. Last movie you saw?
Last what?
Movie.
I don't do it much. Mary likes to go. I mean, I wish I went more with her, but so the other night, our kids told us to watch a movie called Knives Out.
Okay.
So that's what I would recommend. So it was a good one.
Okay.
It was like a real life. Well, not real life because it was a movie. But it was like Clue. It was like the game Clue. Like somebody. It was good. It was good. Knives Out.
Cool. Favorite place to travel?
Favorite place to travel? Well, probably the Jersey Shore. Because my whole life long it was in the summer times we try to get down there. We always vacation there, and it's also a happy place for us because my kids can try to get there, and they want. It's an end place. It's a meeting place, and it's probably where we like to be.
Cool. Well, being out on the island there, I don't know if you've ever been out to Shelter Island. I vacation out there in the summer. Take a ride out there with your wife if you haven't been out there. Beautiful.
There are some great beaches around here, man.
Yeah.
Some great places. Yeah.
Something that motivates Joe Mihalich.
Oh, I don't. It's hard to give you one quick answer to that. I mean, what motivates me is being with great kids. I mean, just watching a kid walk into the gym with a twinkle in his eye and somebody that loves the game and wants to be good and wants to be successful. I mean, every time I see one of our players, I get motivated. I know it sounds corny, but every time one of my players walks in the room, I get motivated because I love them all, and they're all really, really good kids, and they want to do something special, and I get a chance to help them do something special. So that's what motivates me.
Certainly did it this year. You were very complimentary towards the officials today. I appreciate that. What was something that got under your skin? What was something that really bothered you with the officials?
Oh, I don't know that it was, well, certainly nothing personal, and I hate to get too technical here, but, you know. You
got a few technicals in your time. It's okay.
Yeah, bad word to use. Bad word to use. But this emphasis on the cylinder, like, it's just too hard to call that. I mean, without getting into too many details, that was frustrating because we had the greatest of the great refs at the end, and, you know, nobody understands it. The players, the officials, the coaches. I understand the spirit of the rule, but something you just can't really enforce. Too hard to call. I get frustrated for the officials, not for the coach, well, for both. I get frustrated for the officials when they're asked to emphasize something, enforce something that's pretty hard to figure out for everybody.
Yeah.
It's hard enough for you guys, and then we got to put you in the spot where you got to do something that's impossible to figure out. So,
best line you ever gave a referee?
Best line I ever gave a referee. Oh, I don't know. That would be something you'd have to answer.
I like the one when we were up at St. Bonaventure's and you had your hands out. You said, Andrew, come on, you know me. This is some of the best behavior I've ever been on. That was great. That was fun. You got my attention with that one. Best purchase under $100 that has had a great impact on your life.
Best purchase under $100 that's had a great impact on my life. Jeez. I don't. Hard to say. Can't be food, I guess. Huh? Does anything jump out at me? I don't know if anything jumps out at me.
I'll give you a pause here. Maybe your family can write it in here on the comments afterwards. We'll give you a pass. Something about Joe Mihalich that people do not know about.
Something about me that people don't know about. Yeah, I don't know. People don't know about. I don't know what that could be.
You wear your heart on your sleeve. It's all out there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. I gave it up a little bit with talking about reading what I like to read. I mean, that was something,
Well, how about this one? Because I'm sure this popped in your head. I can
tell you this. They don't know this. When I was at LaSalle, I was an adjunct professor in the math department. So, how's that? You like that one?
I like that. Right? Yeah.
People don't know that. Yeah, but for a few years there, I was just teaching an entry level, probably a pre-calculus class in math when I was at LaSalle. So it was a good way to have to throw a tie on and put myself in front of the students and let them see a coach who actually didn't just think about basketball. They had to figure out the sines and cosines too a little bit.
Very cool. Yeah, I didn't see. That's good. Yeah. I believe we all have a book in us, Joe. What would be the title of your book?
Yeah, I should have read these questions before. Yeah. I don't know. It might be something like this. I'm the luckiest guy I know because that's the way I feel. I'm stealing that line from a really close friend of mine, Fran Dunphy, who, when he retired last year, he said that, and it kind of hit home for me. He's as good a guy as there is in the world, and a good friend. And I remember him saying that I'm the luckiest guy I know. So you know what? I feel the same way. I really do. Like, all the things that have happened, the things that I've been through, I just feel like I'm the luckiest guy I know. And personally, my family, my wife Mary, she calls this the magic carpet ride. What we're doing. So going from Niagara to here and popping around, she calls it the magic carpet ride. But it's I'll go with that. I'm the luckiest guy I know.
Cool. How about a short-term goal, Joe? 3 to 5 months.
Oh man, let's get this pandemic behind us. I mean, I think everybody's hoping for that one too. But I think this is a pretty simple, obvious answer. Let's get back to normal. Maybe it's going to be a new normal, but let's find this new normal and get back to it. Want to get back in the gym with the guys. Want to get back in the office with my staff. Want to get back on the road recruiting. Want to get back to trying to help Hofstra climb up the ladder again, win another championship.
Nice. Joe, you did a great job. I appreciated you being on. I have some of the tags here below. I know you were not big on social media, but you're going to be jumping in soon. But certainly can reach out to Joe and the Hofstra program at some of these tags below here. Here's the @Hofstra men's basketball or Hofstra Pride. And definitely go out to a Colonial game. You'll see an energetic person there, an exciting coach. And Joe, congratulations to you and your program. They're winning that championship this year, even though, that next step got pulled away from you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Andrew. And like I said, life isn't fair. We're all learning, and our guys have to learn from that. And we're all going to be better for it. Everybody in the world's going to be better for this. And hey, the next time we talk off the air, I'm going to try and talk you into getting back on the floor and getting that whistle back right. We need you back there. We need you back there.
Well, thanks, Joe. Let me punch this music up. You stay on the line, Joe. We're going to sign off here on Education, Leadership, and Beyond. Again, thanks to Dan Spanauer for sponsoring the show. Here's the Coaching and Leadership Journal. Joe, I'm going to send you a copy of that. And I'm at Andrew Marotta 21 on Twitter. Certainly leave us some comments for Joe. And appreciate you tuning in for the program. We're going to sign off, everyone. Thanks, Joe. Joe, stay on the line. Stay on that line a sec.
Okay, I will.